Cloud watching. For me, it probably all began on a summer day in Kansas in June at harvest time. At harvest time, the combines comb the wheat fields, and the chaff and the dust rise with the sweat from the combine crew. All of it evaporates upward into a flock of clouds, gargantuan, shining, bright cotton ball mountains that glide across the deep blue sky. Majestic, floating islands, casting shapes of moving shade across the fields. And even that take your breath away beautiful, huge sky pales in comparison to what happens next. As the fireflies gather, the cicadas start to buzz, the setting sun throws up light shows on those vast screens of cloud, scarlet, electric, tangerine, washes of neon violet, streaks of cockadoodle blue. Holy moly, friends. You can practically smell God. A little bit of water, a little bit of dust, a ray of light, and voila, clouds in all the colors of the rainbow. That's the first way church is like a cloud. We're mostly water, right? And baptized too. From dust we come, and to dust we must return. And Jesus made it pretty clear that we're to keep our lamps trimmed and burning. So we've got it, dust and water and light, a whole trinity of ingredients for clouds. Now what do we do with them? Are we sitting on cloud 9, or are we living under a cloud of doubt or fear or melancholy? Are we clouding the issue, or looking carefully for the dark cloud's silver lining? God speaks from the clouds, appears as a cloud. So he surrounds, Jesus is often surrounded by clouds. And yet, we also have songs where we sing about the bright and fateful day when the clouds are rolled away. There most certainly are at least two sides to clouds. Rows and flows of angel hair, feather canyons everywhere, fluffy and ethereal, wisps of trailing glory like the robes of God. And dense barrier clouds blocking the sun, filled with lightning, spitting hail. Oppressive, threatening weather systems in only partially predictable patterns. We seek to be a church that opens and enlightens, rather than one that threatens and rages. Clouds of all sorts fill the Bible. The very first cloud mentioned is the one which God nestles the disarmed bow. That is the sign of the first covenant within. The picture is this. The great flood is over, and God so vast as to be everywhere and yet invisible, picks up a bow without an arrow and sets the weapon aside, sets it down on a cloud and says, "Never again." It marks a before and an after. And then the last clouds mentioned, in the order we now read our Bible, is from the revelation of John, his vision of an end time that takes place largely amongst and amid billowing clouds. "Then I looked," says John, "and behold a white cloud, and sitting on the cloud was one like the child of humanity." It's a beautiful bookend when the rainbow wraps around the Son of Humanity's shoulders. It's also good science A rainbow would definitely do that if you sat on a throne in a chamber of clouds. It is the way light behaves with water and dust, the way God behaves clearly too. Both beauty and science have a place in a church that is like a cloud. In the escape to new life story of the Exodus from Egypt, God leads the people across the desert in a pillar of cloud. God calls Moses to the mountain by cloud and lightning. God's actual presence on earth is witnessed in the desert as a pillar of cloud. The people know that Yahweh is actually present when they see that cloudy pillar come down over their encampment and stand over the tabernacle, the tent, temple that they travel with. And when this presence rests over the Ark of the Covenant, it is described as a cloud of glory called the Shekinah. The Shekinah is literally a light cloud of God's actual presence descending to rest in the Holy of Holies, the deepest, most quarantined center of the tabernacle, where only the highest of the high priest can enter once a year, and then oh so carefully with fear and trembling. Holy smokes, for real. That is big God. That is huge power God. In a psalm, Jehovah makes a chariot of clouds. In one of the prophets, God is seen as being so vast that the clouds are the dust from God's feet. Clouds somehow go with the size of God. They're visible but amorphous, and they keep changing shape. There's a bunny, there's a dragon, there's a hungry child. And they are far off. And yet, they impact us immediately. There is sudden shade. Oh, there is summer rain. There is an immediate descending sense of confusion. So somehow clouds speak to us of the imminent presence and the vast transcendence of God. Churches do that too. This accordion pleading of size. Church is big, is huge, is old, and all over the world. It's very close to everywhere and always. And church is also so small. It's just you and I, right here, right now. Sometimes the momentum of the big church is tangible. Traditions, cathedrals, denominations, and polities. Structures that hold all the pieces together, like water and dust, clinging together, electrically charged in a cloud. In this case, the water and dust are us. The electric charge is the Spirit. Church is the cloud. And other times, the intimacy of a church is very specific, so specific. The water are tears. And the dust is one human being. And the electric charge is compassion. Church, the sheltering cloud, just here, just now, together in the mist. God blesses Jesus in a voice from the cloud, surrounds the beloved one with clouds more than once on the mountaintop, pulls Jesus up to the sky in a great big old God hug of cloud. And we find the most glorious Christ of John's Revelation wrapped in a cloud like a mantle with a rainbow halo. Yet, in the 1300s, there was a monk who wrote a treatise called The Cloud of Unknowing, which is a classic in Christian thinking. It says that the cloud is a suffering for the human. For the Christian, it is an impediment, an obstruction, which, like a real cloud blocking out the sun, keeps one away from one's God. God help us if our church should become like that cloud. And sometimes it has been, sometimes it is, blocking a true view of God's always and everywhere unconditional love. The church does carry a debt of harm. We know. God forgive us. Teach us a better way. Friends, here's where we need some church. Because it's one thing for an ancient author suffering to experience a blockage. I've been there. Sometimes my own prayers fall at my feet. Yours? Familiar to anyone? I'm lost in the mist. We know this blockage, yes, but to blame that on God? You have covered yourself, says the lamenter to God. Church, like a cloud, surrounds that lamenting voice and holds it. Church can hold that lament all night long if it needs to be until the shadows shorten. And tomorrow, when it's possible, can remind us of a different side of clouds. Clouds that Isaiah speaks of when he says, "Drip down, O heavens, from above, and let the clouds pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, and salvation bear fruit, and righteousness spring up in the rain." Church is like a cloud when it's porous enough, reflective enough, and malleable enough to meet each one of us where we are and speak wisdom and compassion and discipline to us, and then hold us and move us forward with shade and sustenance. Yes. This brings to mind one more cloud, and it's related to how we are together this morning. This cloud we hear of when we speak these days of technology. This cloud, its name is already our metaphor, my friends, this technological cloud. This cloud relates to me, to the collections of dust and water in the atmosphere high above, because it is so beyond us and so real to us and affecting us so constantly. My photos live there, I am told, and I can still see them on my telephone and my computer. Data is collecting there somehow about all of us, mine and yours, everybody's. And we're not sure what is there or who put it there or how it's going to be used. And there isn't even a there. I mean, not like a place. So what on earth is going on? Do I pay for the space? Can I trust this cloud? Wow, all of a sudden these questions are sounding suspiciously theological. Where is it, whatever it is? Where should it be? Who gets in? Where's the judgment? What's this being used for? What does it cost? Can we trust this? The cloud is basically, help me, a digital-only, not physical computer that behaves as if it is a physical computer, giving it the capacity to be a server of many servers, a data center to a host of data centers, makes it able to serve in multiple directions simultaneously. Wow. One server goes down, the cloud holds. Always online, always available, multiple backups, multiple centers, serving a multiplicity of regions on a multitude of different kinds of devices. Many, many interconnected networks. Sounds like church? Does to me, and I very much hope so. Church is the place that is not a place. Church is a collection of servers hosting multiple centers. Church is the place that knows my song, and when I am unable to sing it, carries the tune for me until I can pick it up again once more. Yes, yes, and yes. This virtual cloud is part of the virtual reality that has held our worship in technological embrace that we never could have imagined only a very short time ago. And my friends, oh, we are here. still together, a community, surrounded by cloud. All right. When I started speaking today, I painted you a picture of a cloud. Remember that sky full of towering clouds as a screen for a light show performed by the sun? Those clouds are in truth, as Mr. Hughesby taught us, a collection of bazillions of water drops caught up in clusters around particles of dust, those bundles linked into something we call cloud. Church is most importantly like a cloud when it is a collection. It is essentially a plurality, and all the one by one little molecules of water float absolutely without connection at all, unless and until one particle of dust appears. What does church know of dust? Mortality? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Eternal life is a process of passing from one state of life to another, like a cloud in a process of liquid, solid, vapor, our own kind of Trinity. And the church knows dust as Jesus, incarnation. The whole point and purpose of God made flesh is God dressed in earth, a second Adam, the very will of God made muddy. Church is like a cloud when the dust particle of Jesus the Christ, the way he shows us our common cause, is the catalyst that brings us into connection and combines us into a whole shining cloud. And once we are together, we are charged with lightning, friends. Church. Let it be porous and shady and gargantuan and soft. Let us be a collection of life cycles. And let us lie on our backs on the good green earth and watch the clouds above like floating Rorschach tests. What do we see and dream? What draws us upward and outward in the direction of God? Clouds change constantly. The sky is always, everywhere, for everybody. Let's be the church that says, hey, look up. Amen.